I'm in an interesting position because I haven't played the game, but I've had a lot of it on in my house because, like you, I have a son who, played an awful lot of Assassin's Creed. And the thing that always struck me is how much history they were getting out of it because they were, the different periods. And there's a lot of history in this thing. However, as Michael Fassbender said in that interview, although he said he wasn't conscious of it, computer games don't have a good track record of going to movies. So if you look at things like whether you start with Super Mario and Mortal Kombat and Tomb Raider, all of which were a bit rubbish, and then Resident Evil.
Super Mario particularly.
Super Mario was particularly pants, wasn't it? Yeah. Resident Evil, long lasting but not great. More recently, Max Payne was noisy and annoyed me. Hitman's a bit rubbish. Silent Hill was one of the ones that was sort of at the better end. But I liked Duncan Jones's adaptation of Warcraft, which a lot of people didn't, and I actually ended up seeing it twice, and I liked it even more the second time round. And the thing I liked about it was that, firstly, I think that he's a filmmaker, and secondly, I think that it showed a respect for the source material. And I kind of feel the same way about Assassin's Creed, although I understand that it's not winning everybody over. I mean, already there are some reviews by gamers who are not thrilled by certain elements of it. In that interview, I thought it was very interesting that Michael Fassbender talked about doing something out of respect to Ubisoft, which was a very interesting phrase to use because it's not the kind of phrase that you would usually hear somebody do it. And he was saying, I wanted to get into the world because they'd done all this stuff and they'd created all this stuff. And I think he was genuinely impressed by the source material. I say once again, I haven't played the source material. I've just watched the source material being played quite a lot. The fact that he was talking about the kill poses and the strike poses, the fact that he was very, very keen to get the parkour, which is in the video game, which again, because you will have seen it on in your house. I know you haven't played it, but you've seen it being played. And the fact that they've done physical action sequences, which you referred to in that interview, although bizarrely the film does still have a computer game feel to it, but that's not a negative thing, because when they're doing the leaping and the jumping and the pogging, no matter how physical it may or may not be, what worked about it is it has the same sense of what those sequences look like when you're watching the computer game, which is actually owes something to the wire work of martial arts movies that we sort of saw revive with things like, Crouching Tiger. There is a whole kind of cinematic tradition from that. So Assassin's Creed, the computer game, is drawing on a cinematic tradition, which is then feeding back into cinema as a result of this adaptation. He was also saying that his director, Justin Kurzel or Kurzel, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, as Jason has often pointed out, I can never pronounce anybody's names right. He said, strong visionary leader. And my feeling was with Macbeth that the adaptation of Macbeth was somewhat insubstantial and was an awful lot of style over substance. In the case of this, I actually think it works better as a film. I think all of the stuff that's in the past, all the stuff when they're in the Assassin's Creed world, all the stuff that's in the historical part of it works really well. The difficulty for some people is the latter day stuff, in which we're in the present day, and there's this whole sort of thing about getting into the genetic memory and essentially casting back to the past characters. Now, as far as I understand, and from what I remember of watching the game, in the computer game, that's just that. I think you just go to you lie down. And here, what they've tried to do is that they've tried to sort of animate that they've given him this kind of arm that he's attached to. So whilst he's doing the running, jumping, fighting in the past, he's doing a sort of strange mimed version of it in the present. And actually, at times, the movie flips between the two of them. And it's clearly an invention in order to make the thing cinematic. But the general feeling seems to be even people who like the past world stuff aren't crazy about the present world stuff. They think that's the stuff that doesn't work. And it was interesting when you were talking about Jeremy Irons and, Michael Fassbender saying, well, there's a question about, who's good.
And I've heard him say this elsewhere. I really don't think there is any doubt.
Jeremy Irons walks on with that Jeremy Irons face on, you go, bad guy. Because that's what Jeremy Irons has literally got his bad guy face on.
There is something, I think the word is squalid.
Squalid?
Yes, there's something squalid about Jeremy Irons. Loose.
You mean when he's on screen? No, exactly. Just to clarify.
Walks on, you go, no, I don't think I'm going to be on your side.
Which is interesting because he's played a number of actually very, very sympathetic roles, but he is very good at doing that.
He's still
Mufasa. Yeah, by no end. But he's also the guy from Dead Ringers, and of course there's that brilliant moment in High Rise when you realise that he's the architect, and you go, oh, okay, fine, that's where we are. So I thought that attempt to make the connection between the different time zones by doing that kind of physicality stuff, I didn't have a problem with it. I thought that it made sense in terms of taking something that's a very, very advanced and complicated computer game and turning it into a cinematic experience. I could understand why, and it didn't bother me that much. I know that a lot of people aren't fans of it. Certainly, people who are fans of the game think that it's a distraction, and that what you actually want to be doing is spending the time, because when you're in the game, actually what you're doing is you are spending time in the past worlds. But it seemed to me that in terms of computer game adaptations, it was made by people who took the source material seriously, which in and of itself is fairly remarkable. I mean, it's often been said that, I'm not an appreciator of computer games. This is absolutely not true. I don't play them and I don't understand them, but I do understand that they can be absolutely brilliant. And I think that if you're adapting anything, you should have respect for the source material. And whether you like the film Assassin's Creed or not, I think it has respect for the source material. As somebody whose entire experience of the game, as I said, is not playing but watching it being played, I thought that watching the film, I thought as a piece of cinema, it was exciting and engaging, and I thought that it moved in a way that seemed to me to be in keeping with the tone of the source game. I thought it was one of the better computer game adaptations, and I think I'm going to go see it again.